So here's a question I get a bunch. Should you pick a niche? And this is a question that I asked myself again and again inside my own agency. Now, the idea of picking one industry to work with over another is that, okay, the projects are similar, right? It's easier to scale. Like you can kind of advertise to the specific group or industry association and get referrals from people that they know and just continue to become the expert and be known as the person that can help these types of businesses. And I kind of thought in my agency, like eventually that was going to happen. Like eventually there was going to be some perfect client that I'd identify and be like, oh, that's it. That's the one that I want. I want to do this project again and again and again. But that really never happened. And if I really think about it, I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't, because there wasn't some industry that I felt like I was absolutely in love with. And the idea of doing the same project over and over and over again, while maybe profitable and maybe super scalable, didn't sound super rewarding to me. And I kind of thought something was wrong with me, because I would see my competitors kind of one at a time slowly start to gravitate towards working with one industry or another. And I started to feel bad about it, but then it hit me. I'd actually realized that in the course of developing my business, there was a sort of niching down that had happened. So I think the main misconception that people have is that niching down means picking an industry. And what I found is that's not true. So the other way that I niched down was by choosing the size and the scope of the work that I was actually doing. So what I did is I created these systemizable, repeatable agency recipes. So these recipes were for all the different services that I offered. So how do we deliver websites? There's a recipe for that. How do we deliver Facebook ads or SEO or email marketing? Each one of them had a very specific recipe to follow. And what I realized in doing that I really honed in the types of projects that I was bringing in, and it helped me to profitably deliver each one of them and not feel like every project that came in was different. Because if I really think about it, the reason why I thought picking an industry was the right way to go was that I thought that it was going to make the projects easier. It was going to make them more uniform, right? And the truth is, I think that a lot of agencies that go out there and pick a niche without also creating the recipe to go along with it are in like double trouble, right? They have complex, snowflakey projects that also are boring, and like you have to work with the same client over and over again, probably in an industry that they're not absolutely in love with and they're just in it for the money. If you can build a system around each of the services that you offer, right? What that does is that allows you to potentially delegate the steps of those systems. If you were to look at a 4-star restaurant and that chef that's behind the menu there, how much cooking do you think the actual chef is doing? Right? Instead, what the chef does is they come up with the recipe, the plan, and then they teach the people on their team how to actually deliver on that recipe. And the chef is doing more important things and going out to the restaurant floor and shaking hands and asking how things were. They're not the ones chopping the onions and boiling the water. If you're interested in the idea of these agency productized recipes, I have a training clip that I put together that I pulled from the archive that you can go into more detail on this and learn more about how to actually deploy this in your agency. Around the video, you see the opportunity to grab that. If your agency is set up in a way that you're doing all the work, consider that's because you don't have a repeatable system or process. So the solution to having an agency that can run without you, an agency that has low stress, an agency that has high profit, isn't automatically solved by just picking an industry. Right? You have to have a system and a process, because when you have that, then you can apply it to any industry and you can go into any area that you want. And that's what I really want to make sure that you understand. There are people out there that are talking about the amazing things associated with niching down. And I think that there is a huge benefit to that if and only if you have the systems and processes. And if you're anything like me, you maybe don't love the idea of working with mortgage brokers the rest of your life, right? Like that was my story. I went out and bought Mortgage Brokers for Dummies books just so I could get my head around what that industry was all about. That was an indicator that that was not the right thing for me to do. I love working with lots of different types of business. I love learning, especially about local businesses and helping them achieve amazing things in their business.